Hi, everyone. Welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries, a weekly podcast spotlighting the people and stories behind your favorite Conejo Valley businesses. I'm your host, Christina Denstead. In today's episode, you'll hear from Beau Daniels, co-founder of Body Dynamix and Sports Academy in Newbury Park. Beau shares his journey from a childhood passion for sports and engineering to becoming a successful entrepreneur in the field of sports medicine and elite athletics. He discusses his early influences, the transition from volleyball to chiropractic, and the founding of Body Dynamix and Sports Academy. Beau reflects on the lessons learned from sports that apply to entrepreneurship and advice for parents of young athletes. Before we get started, if you enjoy Conejo Valley Visionaries and supporting local businesses, please share this episode with a friend. Sharing is a great way to help this community grow and thrive. With that, please enjoy this conversation with Beau Daniels. Today's episode is brought to you by ConejoValleyGiftGuide.com. Shop small, shop local, shop Conejo Valley this holiday season. Visit ConejoValleyGiftGuide.com to find something for everybody on your list, as well as exclusive offers from some of your favorite Conejo Valley businesses. Visit ConejoValleyGiftGuide.com and shop Conejo Valley this holiday season. Happy holidays. Hey, Beau, thank you so much for joining me today on Conejo Valley Visionaries.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get started.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I am thrilled. As I mentioned before we got started, Sports Academy has been like just such an interesting company in my mind, and was one of my top priorities to get you guys on the podcast. So thank you for doing this. And I'm just, as we like to do here, like to go back to the beginning and understand, what did you want to be when you grew up? What did you think you were going to study? Tell us what it was like to be a childhood Beau.
I grew up in Houston. I don't know if you knew that. And so volleyball ended up being my sport in college, but it was not on my radar early on. And so I was, baseball and soccer were my biggest sports, mostly baseball. So I was really, really into sports and really into that. But the way my brain works is very math, engineering oriented. And so as far as school goes, I wanted to go to school and do a double major, electrical engineering and computer science. And I wanted to get into like robotics for prosthesis. And so, I liked that field. I thought it was, interesting as far as, what was evolving in science at the time. And I liked the idea of helping people. And so, I turned left a little bit and went into, health sciences, but that's what my target was when I was young.
Okay. And were either of your parents engineers, or what was there some like moment in time that sort of piqued that interest? Because it's very specific.
Not at all. Like my brain is math, numbers, science. And so, that was just naturally what I gravitated to. And computer programming came really easy, problem solving, that kind of stuff I enjoyed. And so, no, not specifically.
And you mentioned that you were playing soccer and baseball, right? At what age did you start playing sports?
Oh, I'm super young. 4 years old, I started with my dad played basketball in college. And, so I started with basketball, soccer, t-ball, and just kept going. And my love for baseball kind of occluded everything else. I stopped playing soccer in 8th grade and kept playing baseball until, 16 years old. And so, it was 3-4 seasons a year. So, little league season, travel ball season, all-star, Mickey Mantle, summer club, all that stuff. And so baseball was really big. And then soccer was, the regular soccer season, and then club soccer and that kind of stuff. And so, I love sports.
You were kept very busy, and so were your parents, I imagine. And at what point did you decide, were you thinking you were going to go and play sports in college, or did you imagine this like engineering path would take over once you went on to school?
I definitely wanted to play in college. I always saw myself playing baseball in college, and, that was a goal of mine. And then, getting an education and then pursuing my master's afterward, or my doctorate afterward in that engineering field. That was from a very early age. I was very goal set, driven on this is what I'm doing. And so, no, it was very early age.
Okay. So what did you decide? So when you were looking at colleges, were you looking at the programs or did you end up playing baseball in school?
So I grew really late. So as a freshman in high school, I was like 5'2", 95 pounds. And I'm like 6'3", 215 right now. So I was really small. And, I got into off season basketball cut immediately, like cut. My dad's 6'7". Like they're like, we don't care if you grow 12 inches tomorrow. Today you're 5'2", go away. So
Wow.
I entered off season baseball and had a really good relationship with the coach. He loved my work ethic. I had a good arm. I was a good player. I wasn't a great hitter. And so it just came down to I wasn't physical enough. And so I got all the way through my first off season in baseball. And for high school, he was like, sorry, we're done. I kept playing travel ball until I was 16, but I was done with high school sports at that point. And I didn't even know that guys played volleyball. Um, a friend of my sister's brother played volleyball in the area and was like, "Hey, come play." And I was like, "Cool, I'm bored." So that's how I found volleyball my sophomore year in high school, and that's what kind of took me in a different direction. And so I got to my senior year, I was accepted on a partial like academic scholarship to University of Texas. I was going to go into the engineering program there. I had names of roommates. I put a deposit down on my housing. And then that summer I decided I can't do it. I got to go pursue volleyball
Hmm.
because we played a volleyball club team from University of Texas in a random tournament because volleyball's so small in Texas for the guys. And we beat them so badly. And we're an 18s team, right? And I mean, crushed them.
Mhm.
And I was like, this isn't challenging to me. That I need something that I can pursue. And so I ended up ditching University of Texas and moved to Woodland Hills, California, and went to Pierce Junior College to play for a coach that a friend of mine uh, had played for previously that was back in Texas. And he said, look, you got to go play for this coach. His name is Ken Stanley. He's been there for 25 years. He's put out like 7 Olympians. He knows what he's doing. He can help you get to the next level. And I was becoming more physical at the time and jumping well and doing that kind of stuff. So I wanted to do it. So that's how I ended up out here in California. And that's kind of my path. But I was still pursuing engineering. I was still pursuing computer science my first 2 years in junior college. And then when I got recruited to Pepperdine to go transfer there, they didn't have that kind of program.
Hmm.
So I was like, oh, I like working out. I like human body. Biomechanics sounds intriguing because it's kind of like engineering. And so I went down that road and found a love in sports medicine. And the program at Pepperdine was uh, really kind of what shaped the practitioner and the thought process behind the sports medicine practice we have.
Okay. Just curious. So volleyball though, still generally leans towards taller folks. So at what age did you have your growth spurt? Were you 5'2" when you first started off? Were you a
I,
center
I was
or what was
5'6". Yeah, when I first started off, and my coach from Houston still jokes around about it. And I went through this like really funny little chubby stage, and 5'6", a little bit chubby, and like he was like, you showed up, and we were like, what are we going to do with this kid? And so I played, I loved it, and kind of pursued it into beach season, and I started to grow, lean out, get more athletic. I was always quick, but physicality wasn't something that happened for me. Everybody else got real strong and I was not. And so my junior year to my senior year, I got to about 5'10" and kind of leveled out. And then I grew 3 inches in college and put on a bunch of weight. And so I kept growing into college, but like 5'10", 5'11" in my senior year in high school. And I jumped really well. And so it made up for some of the height discrepancy.
interesting? And like a interesting kind of moment in time when everybody else kind of said, cut you off, and then you found this other path and it was
Yeah.
open and it led you on your way. So when it comes to this, so that's how you got to California was through Pierce. And then you were at Pepperdine program. is that where you decided wanted to pursue chiropractic? Like how did the next path, how did you go from there?
Yeah. So, I go and I speak every year at the sports medicine kind of intro class at Pepperdine, because the way that I found chiropractic is kind of weird. Um, I I had injuries that I went through in high school and college, and I always felt like that with regards to sports medicine, there was a hole, right? There was the orthopedic surgeons did surgery, maybe some injections, and then the PTs did exercise, and the chiros just cracked backs and maybe some soft tissue, and the massage therapist could do the soft, like no one was taking the big picture and putting it all together and saying like, what do you need? Like, how do we fill this gap? And so I always was curious about that. And so I looked at orthopedic surgery. I looked at, you know, chiropractic. I looked at physical therapy. I looked at athletic training. I did an internship as an athletic trainer at Pepperdine.
Hmm.
And, there was just these rigorous limitations on, can you diagnose? How far can you go with treatment? When can you make changes? All these kind of things. And chiropractic was so poorly defined. It's so poorly defined that it allowed me to get into it. I could diagnose, I could treat, I could make change, I could do all these things because the, the way that it's kind of said, hey, here's what chiropractic is, it really just doesn't exist. It's almost everything, which is sad in a way, but it allowed me to do what I wanted. And so that's how I found chiropractic, was kind of by attrition, which is weird.
Yeah.
Um, And so, I give that talk, every year in that class and kind of talk about that. And I found the route to do what I thought was necessary in sports medicine. And so that's how I found chiropractic.
And you were living it too, right? As an athlete. So
Yeah.
you got to see like in depth. And did you go out on was your anticipation to have your own practice, or were you imagining working for other people?
I'm pretty independent. And so, I have a good friend of mine. We played volleyball in college together at Pierce and have remained, good friends for since then. He's one of my best friends. And so he and I started the business right after school. So we got done with school and we opened up Body Dynamix end of 2006 and opened the doors early 2007. And so it's gone through many iterations and changes since then, but we're both still owners and involved and still practice together. He's 2 doors down. So it's been good to go through life with somebody like that.
So did Body Dynamics come first and then Sports Academy, or were they
Yeah.
all created at the same time?
No, Body Dynamix has been around. We opened up the first Body Dynamix as a chiropractic only, so kind of sports medicine chiropractic in early 2007, and we were in Encino. We were there for 3 years, and then we moved that practice to Tarzana, just kind of moved buildings, and we opened up another practice in 2010 in Orange County, Lake Forest to be specific. So we existed, those two practices until about 2014. And then we changed Body Dynamix Chiropractic and Performance. We changed it to Body Dynamix Integrated Sports Medicine. And we took on a medical partner. And so we changed it from a chiropractic practice to a multidisciplinary practice, a physician owned practice, so that we could have physical therapy, medical, acupuncture. We could have kind of whatever we wanted all in the same place. We had all that. In the meantime, I had started a volleyball club with a couple other guys. I had got to know some people. We've always been looking for a facility to be able to do volleyball specifically, but sports medicine, and performance training all kind of housed in the same building. In California, that's very, very difficult. Everywhere else in the United States, because of property cost and rent cost and value of the land, that kind of stuff, it's much more feasible everywhere else. But in California, it's really tough. And so, we had different opportunities and just didn't work out for different reasons. So we've been looking at trying to do something like this for a long time. And then I actually met Chad, our CEO, and I guess you can call him a founder and we're all co-founders outside of that. And he had a daughter that played for the club that I was involved in, and so he found out who I was, and I found out who he was, and we chatted a little bit, and that's kind of how Sports Academy came about. Was that
Wanting to be holistic in its approach.
Yeah, if you're a parent and you have a kid that plays sports in Los Angeles and you're serious about sports, inevitably the kid is going to get some sort of tendonitis, knee pain, back pain, whatever. So you've got to find somewhere that you can go and make sure that they get taken care of. Then you've usually got performance training. Okay, my kid's got to get strong. They have to jump higher, run faster, all that good stuff. Then they've got tutors. They've got to keep up with schoolwork, and then they've got practice, and then they've got, if they're really pursuing something, not only do they have practice, but they have private lessons, skill set clinics, things like that. And so you've got all these things, and in California, 10 miles away could be an hour away, right? So you're driving and sitting in these dingy gyms or sitting in your car, and it's just a terrible way of life for a family.
Mm-hmm.
And so the concept was, if we can do it well and put it all under the same roof, we've increased the quality of life for the people in this area. And that was the initial goal, was to increase the quality of life of families that have kids playing sports.
That makes a lot of sense. And thank you for that. As a parent, knowing that you can go to one place and not have to be driving around. Why did you decide to open it in Newbury Park? It sounds like you were kind of spread out around Southern California.
Very much so. So there's only, 2 or 3 areas where having a building like this is feasible. So you have to have ceiling height. You have to have open space. And again, you're dealing with California, so you can't pay $3 a square foot. You can't operate a club and youth sports and things like that with those kind of costs, right? So you're looking at, the Irvine area has some industrial space that has higher ceilings. You're looking at a couple of little sections in, Seal Beach area, Anaheim, and then out here, there's a couple little sections in the valley, but they're not great areas per se. They're usually a little rough,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're not going to want to drop your kid off at a place like that. So the demographics in the area with regards to families that had kids playing sports, the access to industrial buildings that look nice, were newer, and were safe areas, it really put us in a couple different places, and this made the most sense.
What year was it open? Did you guys open it?
2016. So May 31st, I believe, 2016, the sports medicine opened up. October 15th, 2016, the rest of the building opened up.
Okay. And in your role now, what does that encompass? I know you're very busy, it sounds like, within Sports Academy and Body Dynamix, as well as outside of it. So what are you working on?
Oh, man. My role. Okay. So here at Sports Academy, I'm the executive director for volleyball. So we have assistant directors and admin and things like that on the boys' side, girls' side, that kind of stuff. But the decision making and the overall structure comes from me. So that's volleyball here. Then I'm also the executive director for the integrated sports medicine side. So, we have orthopedic surgery, we have medical doctors, we have 4 physical therapists, 6 chiros. Like, we have a very busy sports medicine practice. So I run that here. We have smaller satellite locations in Camarillo, and then in Irvine, and in Century City, and now Woodland Hills is a bigger satellite location with regards to Body Dynamix, and then we help manage that. So I'm bouncing all over the place with regard to that. That encompasses the entirety of my Body Dynamix and Sports Academy involvement, really.
Is volleyball still a passion of yours?
I love it. Both my boys play. Um, my older son is a junior at Newbury Park. He's a good player. He's been playing since kind of COVID started. He was a soccer guy as well, and decided, I want to try volleyball, and he kind of fell in love with it. So he's a good player. I coach his 17s team, and then my younger son is 13. This is his second year playing, and he's a good little player too. And so, yes, it's a big passion of mine. I don't play very much anymore. My knees have seen enough jumps, and so I don't get out there and run around too much. But yeah, I enjoy it, and I enjoy seeing it done. And candidly speaking, I'm very particular about how it's taught, how it's done, how kids are mentored. Being in a position to influence that is that's a passion of mine. And so, I'm very proud of the product we're putting forward.
And are there other sports at Sports Academy outside of volleyball?
Yeah, there's a lot. We have a really big basketball program, much bigger in size and kind of reach than our volleyball program. Our volleyball program is probably the smallest, most recent upcoming program. And, basketball is really deep. We've got a big youth kind of population for club and for league and lessons and all sorts of stuff. So basketball is great. We're now running a section of another location in Seal Beach. We've got baseball going, club baseball here now, club baseball in Tennessee. We're working on some other stuff as well. And so lots of sports. We have jiu-jitsu here at Sports Academy. We have a partnership with Gracie Baja, and they're upstairs. And so I see all these little groms running around in gis all the time and ready to take me out. So no, it's great. Trying to create those kind of environments is awesome.
Do you have any tips? Maybe this is like a selfish question on my end for parents of young kids on, how to tap into sports for their kids or where to start?
Where to start is just find a place where your kid can get involved, and again, there's red flags both sides of the fence, right? So like, a coach is allowed to be hard and push your kid. That's okay. As long as there's nothing that is, verbally abusive or too much over the top where, they're getting into character, let them push. It's good for them. The other side of it, the thing that we see most often is everyone tries to set their kid up for 100% success. And that's not really what sports are. Sports are, there's a lot of failure in sports, and there's a lot of lessons to be learned in sports. And so I've had this conversation with lots of parents that are very excited that their teams won the championship for the last 3 years, and they're undefeated, and they, win 50-0 against everybody. It's like, that's a terrible idea. That's a terrible environment. You've taught your kid now that winning is easy and expected. And so every time that they fail, it's the end of the world. And every time they succeed, they think it's expected. It's not special, right? And so finding a place where your kid can have success in pushing forward and achieving something, but also understand the failure side of what sports is. That's what I would pursue as a kid, as a parent, is that, and allowing your kid to fail, support them, and that's a really important lesson. And I think sometimes, we're too protective of our kids that way, and we don't want them to fail. We want them to always succeed, and we're going to put them in a place where they're the best. It's like, I don't know if that's the best environment. So
Yeah, because at some point they will experience that, and it's helpful to have the tools to learn. Did do you think that having been on team sports impacted your desire to be an entrepreneur and start your own business, or has it? Are there lessons from being on a sports team that apply to being a successful entrepreneur?
yeah, definitely. When you're on a team, you have a goal, and you have to work with people you like. You have to work with people maybe you don't like, and it doesn't matter how well you work together or not. You still have this goal, right? And so really understanding, what it is, and I have this quote I use all the time with, you know, people that work in this company, and when we sit down and we discuss, they're upset about something or other. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want to stand up and be right? I'm right. Look at me. I'm right. And you're wrong. And we're going to move forward. Or do you want to accomplish your goal? Because accomplishing your goal usually means compromise. And so having the ability to take a step back, to look forward at whatever your goal is, and group together, a team and say, look, that's our goal. And we're all going to compromise along the way. And we might be right, we might be wrong, and that's okay, but that's our goal. I think team sports is something that teaches you that really well. And, it's something that transcends into business.
Yeah, I can see that. And I feel like as somebody who didn't play team sports, I feel like that is a missing component, or even having a coach, a third party really helping kind of get you motivated is something too, as a kid, probably a really important part of their lives.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's, again, sports for 99.9% of the population is about lessons, like lessons that you learn over time, lessons that you learn that apply to the rest of your life. That 0.01% that ends up making it a career and they're a professional, good. But everybody else, sports is about lessons, right? And so, when we gear sports toward, I have to be professional or bust, we're really not playing the percentages very well, right? So,
Yeah. Interesting. What are you most proud of?
I don't know. I'm really bad at spending time doing that. I'm very proud of my boys. I'm very proud of the people they are, of the work ethic that they have, and of what their contribution is to the people around them. Very proud of that. I feel like I can very directly influence them in a good way. As I said, I'm proud of the product we're putting forward in volleyball. And I'm proud of the product that we put forward here in integrated sports medicine. It's from a whole. And so having the ability to influence that and, push my opinion, whether right or wrong, on that environment is something that, I take some pride in.
Is it what you kind of like imagined when you first set out thinking about how to integrate all these different components?
No, not at all. I always saw myself as somebody that could be a coach, a mentor, a teacher, to the next, group of individuals, to lead whatever piece of the puzzle that is, whether it's volleyball or sports performance or chiropractic or sports medicine. But, getting the opportunity to do this on a larger scale, like Sports Academy and partnering up with Chad and what Chad has given me the opportunity to do here, I will forever be grateful. I did not see that in my original plan. I'm not real good at that kind of stuff. I will put my head down and I will work until I keep moving forward. But it really took somebody like Chad to sit in front of me and say, stop it, take a step back, look up, what's way down there. And I'm good at goal setting for myself, but setting the bar way higher than I could have ever imagined, Chad really helped me with that. So
That's incredible. It's great that he was able to come in and help you see even the bigger picture, and also
yeah.
hopefully to acknowledge your accomplishments of where you've gotten so far. What's been the biggest challenge?
Oh man, COVID. Um, that was tough. It was tough to do, caught in between doing what's right and then doing what's supposed to happen on paper and doing it was a nightmare in the health industry. And it was tough to navigate politically, and it was tough to navigate from a health perspective, and accommodating, people's true fears and accommodating people's true rights is like, it was so hard.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that, I'll never forget. And I'll never get that time back. It was brutal. It was brutal, and it was very difficult. And that was the fact that we survived that whole ordeal as a medical practice is that's a big deal.
I can only imagine, and not only all of that you mentioned, but also having a physical space too, and a large space that you're meant to have people in
Yeah.
during and having that break. Is there any key lesson you think you learned from that helped you guys survive?
The key lesson is you can't please everybody, and you just navigate the waters as best you can, and just recognize that people are going to have different opinions, and you go, look, I'm sorry, I'm trying my best to do what I think is right and safe and different, whatever that is. And if somebody doesn't agree with you and they're really upset about it, it's okay. We can go different ways, but we don't have to be that mad about it. We can just say, look, we don't have to occupy the same space. That's okay.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest piece of the puzzle was, just being respectful to everybody's opinion, fear, political stance, whatever it was, because it got really, really heavily polarized through that time.
Makes sense. What is your vision for the sports academy, for Body Dynamix?
You know, with the sports academy, it's just to continue to influence as many people in a positive way that we can be proud of. And so expansion, with regards to what we do. I would hope to continue to be put in a place where I can influence those that influence kids, influence those that influence patients. Because, when I treat one patient, I influence one patient. When I work with a doctor, I'm influencing that whole doctor's patient population, or a coach. I'm influencing that whole coach's population. And so I just want to continue to be put in a place where I can have a bigger umbrella of influence. And so as far as, vision goes, as far as the future goes, with regard to growth, that's really what we're looking for on all sides of the fence. So, medical, volleyball, you name it. The ability to continue to influence more.
And do you think that can happen from Newbury Park? I'm always curious, do you think Conejo Valley is a good place to have a business and then grow from there?
I love Conejo Valley. I was in the valley, and it wasn't my favorite place, like Woodland Hills, Chatsworth, West Hills area. It wasn't my favorite place, but it was fine, and close to business. And I always thought of this place as the suburbs, and it's like, I'll never go out there. It's like not until I'm like 50, 60, and it's like, I'll never go out there. And, business took me out here in 2015 when we kind of started this project. So we started looking, and I was like, I won't go past Agora. Like, that's reasonable. And we got out here, and we're in Thousand Oaks, and I love it. I love this community. It's wonderful to have kids in, and, it's filled with really, really good people. And, can we continue to influence? Yeah, we're going to continue to influence here. We're going to continue to be successful. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for businesses to be successful here. I think when you have a community focus, in whatever your business is, right? If it's food and bev, if it's sports, if it's medicine, whatever it is, if it's a community focus, I think that goes a long way in this valley. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, I love this place, and I can see us continuing to grow here. But outside of here, yeah, that's what we're trying to do as well.
Or do you see that you have folks coming from LA and even maybe further into Ventura County?
Yeah, absolutely. Our sports medicine practice, we pull from Santa Barbara, Valencia, Manhattan Beach, like you name it. They're driving here for that kind of stuff, right? For whether it's our practitioners or our reputation or whatever it is. And then on the volleyball side and the basketball side as well, we're pulling from those same demographics where people are driving here 3-4 times a week.
Right.
from an hour and a half away. So we are pulling from a really big radius, because it's a unique environment.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it's not that far. That's as a former person who didn't want to live in the suburbs too. I'm like, from LA, depending on traffic, it's not terrible, and especially if you have like such an important destination to get to. So that's incredible. Okay, a couple of rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
Speaking of your love of Conejo Valley, what is your favorite thing to do here?
I love the mountains. I don't get out there enough, but to go, hike or bike in the mountains, that would be my favorite thing to do. I wish I did it more.
Is there a favorite hike that you have?
No, I wouldn't do the same one over and over again. I'd bounce around. Kind of, I like exploring. So no, I don't have a favorite one.
Got it. Okay, and then lastly, what is one piece of advice you would give to first-time entrepreneurs?
Okay. Being an entrepreneur is not about, it's not a straight line. It's not about being successful. It's about how can you pivot or overcome failure. And so, it's never going to be the end of the world if you fail or do something wrong or make a mistake. I've made a zillion mistakes, some terrible mistakes. And, you beat yourself up because of them, and you go, man, I can't believe I did that. And I can't believe, I went down that road, or whatever it is. Right. And you have to live with that. So that's tough, but you also have to move forward. You have to figure out, how am I going to continue to move forward? And, you hope along the way that, you're the decision maker and you're the person who's making, someone else do something. And so you say, look, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Please forgive me for that. I'm going to do better next time. And, being accountable for those things is all you can do. And so as an entrepreneur, be ultimately accountable. As a entrepreneur, be very, very resilient in your path. It should take a lot to knock you off your path.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your honesty in that, because not everybody likes to mention that they've made mistakes. So thank you for that. And also, thank you for your time and for sharing your story and for all that you're doing for the community. And it's amazing. I can't wait to see how you guys continue to grow.
Oh, I appreciate that. No, we enjoy every day coming to work. So it's fun.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Beau. And I continue to watch and hopefully get my kids into sports too one day and get that team spirit that I think you guys are passing on to people.
I love it. We try our best. So awesome. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Make sure to subscribe to Conejo Valley Visionaries wherever you listen to podcasts so that you never miss an episode. And follow us at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us a DM. We are always open to guest nominations. This episode was produced by Christina Denstead and Justin K. Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin K. Sloan and J. Sloan Productions.